Hello everybody, it's the War Hipster here, coming at you with another Contrast Plus painting video, and today we're painting another Spearhead. Except, it's not like we normally do. So as you know, Project Spearhead has been running for the last sort of 6 to 8 weeks or something like that, and I've been really enjoying painting Spearheads. It's been my favourite thing that I've done in Warhammer in a very, very long time. And, well, turns out Games Workshop noticed. So I've done like 10 or 11 Spearheads by now, and I'm very proud of the fact. But Games Workshop said, bet you can't do one in 24 hours. So I guess that's what we're doing. Yes, that's right. Games Workshop have very kindly sent me Spearhead, Daughters of Khaine. And I have a clock. So, yeah. In this video, we're going to be painting up Spearhead, Daughters of Khaine. And we're going to be doing it in less than 24 hours. So, yeah, I guess we hit go on the clock. So, basically what we're going to be doing here is we're going to be kind of taking a more relaxed approach to painting it. So we're going to get up to Spearhead battle ready. We're going to see how long it takes to do that, and then any highlights we can apply afterwards on the most important parts. That's what we'll do. And I'm probably going to be looking at things like the hair and maybe kind of relayering some weapons or whatnot, just add a little bit of shine and sparkle to the entire Spearhead. So this video is about getting Spearhead ready, because you've got a Spearhead game tomorrow, or you know, next weekend, but today is the only day off that you have, so maybe we have to get it done in less than 24 hours. 24 hours feels realistic though. So ultimately what this boils down to is the Melusai Ironscale, 10 Witch Elves, 5 Doomfire Warlocks, and 5 Blood Stalkers, I think is what it is. Either way, that's 4 units, and I've got 24 hours to paint them. So 6, 12, 18, 24 hours per model. Seems doable. So join me, won't you, on, I don't know why this is still going, 1 minute and 33. I'm just going to stop that for a second, because this is an intro. I'm only filming at the moment. Painting hasn't begun. If you enjoyed this type of content, you like these types of challenges, please do let me know. Like the video, subscribe, and comment below to see what other challenges you'd like to see me do. And Games Workshop, if you're watching, let's do another 24-hour challenge. Bring it on. So here we have it then. All of the Doomfire Warlocks are built. There they are. And we have all of the Bloodstalkers. They are also built. Here they are, as you can see. Lovely, lovely. Bloodstalkers. And here's the Ironscale. And then we have our 10 Witch Elves. Now I'm going to start on the Witch Elves. And the entire set, I've primed in White Scar. And the reason I've primed it all in White Scar is so that we can get really nice bright colours out of the models. And we don't have to worry too much about highlighting if we don't have time to do it. So we're going to work on these 10 Witch Elves first. And then we're going to move on to something else. I haven't decided which yet. Possibly the Doomfire Warlocks, because I think they might be the ones that take the longest, but we'll find out. So I'm going to choose 5. We'll go for this lady. So I'm going to go for that one. And we'll go for the banner as well. I'm going to be doing this across all 10 at once, but for the purposes of the video, we'll go for the musician. There we go. We'll go for this one just here. Like that. And then we need one more, and we'll go for this one. Why not? So there we go. All primed in White Scar. All ready to go. I'm going to work on the other 5 at the same time. And I've set myself a time limit of 6 hours to paint all 10 of these. So we're going to hit start now. Off we go. So the colour we're going to be using first for our Witch Elves is Reikland Fleshshade. And, well, we're going to be applying this over the top of all the skin. And this is what I mean about having that bright undercoat first, the white scar, because it means we can use things like shades instead of full-on contrast paints in order to get the models looking nice and complete without having to worry too much about highlighting. So with all that Reikland Fleshshade applied, we're then going to take Black Legion and we're going to apply this over the top of any kind of leather. So we're really looking for boots, gloves, and their pants. But another area we're also going to apply this over top of is the banner pole. So with that then done, we're going to take some Blood Angels Red and we're going to apply this over top of any of their clothes. Now this is going to include the sort of this bit up here on the chest. However, this is our champion, so we're not going to do it on her. Instead, she's going to have a different one just to denote her a little bit from the others. So with that Blood Angels Red all applied, we're then going to take some Magos Purple and we're going to apply this over the top of all the hair. So with that now done, we're going to take some thinned down Iron Hand Steel and we're going to apply this over top of all of the armor plates and the weapons. And with all that Iron Hand Steel applied, we then take some thinned down Retributor Armour and we're going to apply this over top of all of the remaining details. So with that all done, all of our base coats are now on our Witch Elves, so it's time to add some shades, and the first of these is going to be some Carroburg Crimson, but we're going to thin it down with 2-to-1. It's a 2-to-1 mix of Lahmian Medium and Carroburg Crimson. And we're going to use this to shade all the flesh, all the gold, and all the red. So with that Carroburg Crimson all applied, we're then going to take some Nuln Oil. I'm going to use this to shade all the silver and all the black. So with that all done, our Witch Elves are now what I would call a War Hipster battle ready, but we're making really good time, as you can see. So what we're going to do is we're actually going to add a couple of extra details just to really make them pop. And one of these is going to be to take some Black Legion. Not very much of this at all. And we're going to apply this over the top of the eyes and the lips and the teeth. So we do that over the eye. And then over the teeth. And we just let it overflow a little bit. And that around the lips. And so with that Black Legion applied, we then take a tiny, tiny little dot of Screaming Skull, and we apply this in the corners of each of the eyes. Like that. And like that. And we also use this to pick out the teeth. So with that done to all the faces, we're then going to take some thinned down Corax White. I'm going to use this to basically relayer over the top of all the hair. So with that Corax White all applied, we're then going to take some thinned down Iron Hand Steel. I'm going to use this to relayer the cutting edges of the blades. Like that. And like that. Do the inside as well. There we go. And we're also going to use this to relayer the flat sections of our armor panels. And then finally, because we must move on, we're going to take some thinned down Liberator Gold. And we're effectively going to do both a relayer and a highlight. So we're going to relayer any smooth open gold areas like the headpieces and the belts, but otherwise for all the jewellery and the trim and stuff, we're just going to do a little edge highlight. So our witch elves are now, well, they're not finished, but they are finished, as you can see. For the purposes of this video, at least, they are finished. So we're going to pop them all to one side, and we're going to stop the clock just for a minute. So we've got 2 hours and 33 minutes remaining, but I've just added 6 hours there by accident. But I was going to do that because we're going to move on to our next unit. We've got that 2 hours and 33 minutes and 20 seconds remaining from the Witch Elves time, which we're now going to allot into painting for the next unit, which is the Doomfire Warlocks. Now I think we're going to need that extra time because they're a little bit more involved, as you can see. So 8 hours, 33 minutes and 20 seconds remaining. So we're going to hit start once again, and we're going to move on now to the Doomfire Warlocks. So here is a Doomfire Warlock. The colour we're going to be using first is Black Legion. So just going to give that a good shake. There we go. And, well, I'm going to start by applying the Black Legion over the top of the horse in its entirety. So we're going to go over the top of the horsehair and the flesh and the hooves and the spikes. So with all that Black Legion applied, we're then going to take 2 coats of Luxion Purple. And we're going to apply this over the top of the horse's armour and the skirts of the riders. So with 2 layers of Luxion Purple now applied, we're going to take some Cygor Brown. I'm going to apply this over top of all of the leather here. This is slightly different to the witches because there's already quite a lot of black going on the horse. So we're going to apply the Cygor Brown here instead. So this is the things like the reins and the tack on the horse. And we got the boots. So with all that Cygor Brown applied, we're then going to take some Reikland Fleshshade, and we're going to apply this over the top of the skin. With that Reikland Fleshshade applied, we're then going to take some Briar Queen Chill. And we're going to apply this over the top of the hair. With that Briar Queen Chill all applied, we're then going to take some Blood Angels Red, and we're going to apply this over the top of the horse's mouth, including the teeth, because time permitting, we have enough time to sort those out a little bit later. So next up, we're going to take some thinned down Iron Hand Steel, and we're going to apply this over the top of the male here, just a little corner in there that I just can't seem to quite pick up. There we go, got it. So we're going to apply it over the male. We're going to apply it over the top of the sort of shin guards and this bit of the saddle. Like that sort of thing. We're also going to apply it over the top of these bits dangling from the horse's reins. And of course the blades on the weapon. Like so. We're also going to apply this over the top of the crossbow. And the cummerbund. So with that then done, we're going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. I'm going to apply this over the top of all the remaining details. So with that done, we've got all of our base coats on, so what we're going to do is we're going to take some Nuln Oil, and we're going to use this to shade all the silver. And so with that then done, what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 2 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Carroburg Crimson mix. I'm going to use this to shade the gold and the purple. not the skin this time. So with our shades applied, as you can see, we've still got plenty of time on the clock. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a couple of little bits and bobs here, just to really make them shine. So first of these is going to be some thinned down Screaming Skull. I'm going to use this to pick out the horse's teeth. And then similarly on the horse, what we're going to do is we're going to take a little bit of Evil Sunz Scarlet. I'm going to apply this over the top of the eyes. And so with that then done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some blue horror and we're going to dry brush the horse. So we're looking to be reasonably heavy on the tail and the mane, like so. And then we've got the little rune on the hind quarters, like that sort of thing. Then on the rest of it, what we want to do, just don't want to spend too much time. Just want to give it a little hint of the blue. Next up, we want to take a small amount of Carroburg Crimson. We're going to apply this over the top of the rider's eyes. Like that. And in amongst any of the kind of scarring and runic devices on their foreheads. So with that then done, what we're going to do is we're going to once again take some thinned down Corax White. I'm going to use this to highlight the hair. And so with that done, just like before on the Witch Elves, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Iron Hand Steel. I'm going to use this to relayer the sharpest cutting edges of the blades. like that. And I'm going to use this to relayer the armour and the crossbow. And then similarly, for our last relayer, what we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Liberator Gold. I'm going to use this to relayer and highlight all the gold. So with 4 hours, 8 minutes and 55, 54, 53, 52, 51, 50 seconds left on the clock, we have now done all of our Doomfire Warlocks. Here they are. So what we're going to actually do now is we're going to move on to our Bloodstalkers. So I'm going to pop these all out of the way. There they are. Looking great. So, Doomfire Warlocks now go in the done pile, and whilst we could add on another 6 hours to this, we're actually going to try and get the Bloodstalkers done inside the 4 hours and 8 minutes remaining. So, I'm going to pop that to one side, and we're going to gather up our Bloodstalkers. So, the colour that we're going to be using first, if I can just find it, is going to be Reikland Fleshshade. There it is. Give it a good shake. Open it up, and there we go. So here we have the champion of the Bloodstalkers. So, Reikland Fleshshade, first colour. What we're going to do is we're going to apply this over the top of the skin of the Bloodstalker. Like so. But what we're also going to do is over the top of the snake belly, we're going to apply Reikland Fleshshade as well. So we actually changed tack a little bit there, and we actually applied Reikland Fleshshade over the entirety of the snake, including the scales. So what our next colour is going to be is Magos Purple, and we are now going to only apply this over the top of the belly of the snake. And with that Magos Purple applied, we're then going to take Blood Angels Red, and we're going to apply this over top of all the scales on the snake body. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion. And we're going to use this to do quite a few different details. So, first thing we're going to do here is we're going to apply this over the top of the tail spike. Like so. And then we're going to apply this in quite a simple snaky pattern, just by coating in the middle rung of scales. Just like this sort of thing. But what we're also going to do with the Black Legion is going to apply this over the top of any leather details and over the top of the arrow shafts as well. So with all that Black Legion now applied, we're going to take some Terradon Turquoise and we're going to apply this over two areas. The first of which is our little Drake friend, just here. And the other is the bow. And just whilst we're waiting for that to dry on the bow, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Berserker Bloodshade. And we're going to apply this over the top of the hair. With that then done, the Terradon Turquoise is now dry, so what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Templar. We're going to apply this over the top of the bow, not the dragon friend, but just over the top of the bow. So with that now done, what we can do is we can take some thinned down Iron Hand steel, and we're going to apply this over top of their chest plates. The other little bit of armour down where the crotch used to be. and over the top of any arrow tips that you might have lurking around. And so with all that Iron Hand steel applied, we are then going to once again take some thinned down Retributor Armour, and we're going to apply this over the top of all the remaining details. So with that all done, it is now time to add those shades. So the first of these is going to be some Nuln Oil. I'm going to apply this over the top of the silver. And so with that then done, what we're going to do is we're going to take a roughly 2 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Carroburg Crimson mix. We're going to use this to shade the snake over the top of the red and the black. We're going to go over the top of the body as well of the snake. And we're also going to use this to shade all the gold, just like we've done so far across the rest of the set. So with that all done, we're making really good time. As you can see, we've got 1 hour and 26 minutes counting down left on the Bloodstalkers. So what we're going to do is we're going to add a few extra details. So the first of these is going to once again be some Corax White. I'm going to apply this as a highlight over the top of all the hair. So with that all done, just like with the Witch Elves, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Black Legion. We're going to apply this over the top of the eyes and the teeth. And with that Black Legion applied, we're then going to take a tiny amount of Screaming Skull. I'm going to apply this in the corners of the eyes and over the teeth. So with that then done, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Sybarite Green. And we're going to very gently dry brush this over the top of the bows like that, and over the top of our little dragon friend. And then similarly to that, we're going to take some Slaanesh Grey and we're going to dry brush this over the top of the black scales. So with that all done, it's now time to work on the metallics, and this should be very familiar by now. What we're going to do is we're going to take some thinned down iron hand steel. We're going to use this to relayer all the silver. And with that iron hand steel applied, we're then going to finish them off by taking, once again, some thinned down Liberator Gold. And we're just going to apply this over the top of all the flat gold, and we're going to highlight all of the smaller gold details. So with 14 minutes-ish left on the clock for our Bloodstalkers, we did get them finished, which is pretty cool. Hold on, just need to focus. Focus, damn you. There you go. As you can see, looking pretty cool. So we're actually going to now pop them to one side because we have one last miniature to work on, which is the Melusai Ironscale. There it is. Lovely stuff. So we're going to hit stop on that for the minute, and I need to reset that to 6 hours. Though I don't think it's going to take it. What I might do is I might just reverse it so it times up to see how long it takes to paint the Melusai Ironscale, because everything that we've done so far, the Witch Elves, the Bloodstalkers, the Doomfire Warlocks, it's all going to be appropriate for this. So actually it's going to be pretty simple to get through this one. So we'll be back in just a second once I figure out what I'm going to do with the clock, and then we'll get on with painting the last miniature of the box. So we're actually going to count up this time. I just decided rather than counting down, because we're making really good time. So we're going to see how long we can spend on our Melusai Ironscale to get it all finished up. So I'm going to pop the clock to one side, and we're going to start on our model. So the first colour that we're going to be using is just like with the Bloodstalkers, is we're going to take some Reikland Fleshshade, and we're going to apply this over the top of the snake and her skin. Once all that Reikland Fleshshade is applied, we're then going to take some Magos Purple. I'm going to apply this over the top of the belly of the snake. And with that Magos Purple applied, we then take some Blood Angels Red and we apply this over the scales of the snake. So with that all done, we're then going to do something that's slightly new, but it's what we've done for all of the rest of them so far. And we're going to take some Druchii Violet here. I'm going to apply this over the top of the hair. For some reason the camera wasn't recording. I told it to, but it decided not to. As you can see, what we're doing is we're currently blocking in all of the bits that are going to be Terradon Turquoise. Now, we have had the kind of the headgear snakes here. We are going to be doing these. We've got the blade here, we've got the snakes on the tip of the staff, and we've got the cloth. So those are all the places that we're doing Terradon Turquoise, but for some reason it didn't record half of them. So we're doing it now. And so with that done, just over the cloth, what we're going to do is take some black Templar. We're going to apply this over the top. But just over the cloth, not over the rest of it. So with that black Templar all applied, we then move to our other black contrast paint in the form of Black Legion. I'm going to apply this over top of the staff and over top of all of the leather details. So with that all done, what we're now going to do is we're going to take some thinned down Retributor Armour. And we're going to apply this over top of the face mask and the armour. And one thing I got wrong was that these two middle snakes are actually gold. Just going to apply it over those as well. However, what we do have is we have these hearts here, which we're also going to apply this over top of, as well as the remaining parts of the staff and these beads down here. Quite a lot of gold. So with that all done, we're then going to add a shade, which is going to be roughly 2 parts Lahmian Medium to 1 part Carroburg Crimson. I'm going to use this to shade all the gold and the snake body. So I'm just going to start here on the snake body. So with that done, slightly uniquely to this individual, what we're going to do is we're going to take some Biel-Tan Green. I'm going to use this over the top of our remaining Terradon Turquoise areas. So here, snakes. Just like this. So with that all done, it is now time to add those little extra bits of flair, and none of this is really going to be surprising either. The first one that we're going to use is some thinned down Corax White. I'm going to use this to now relayer and highlight all the hair. So with that done, we're then going to take a dry brush of this time Gauss Blaster Green. I'm going to use this over the top of our snakes. Well, all of our Terradon Turquoise areas really. As well as black cloth. With that Gauss Blaster Green dry brush applied, we then dry brush the black scales with some Slaanesh Grey. So with that then done, new colour alert, we're going to use some thinned down Iron Breaker here. I'm going to use this to pick out all these little hooks, as well as the beads. And so with that then done, just like before, this is not a new colour alert. We're going to be using some thinned down Liberator Gold to highlight and relayer all of our gold to make it nice and shiny. And so with that done, it is now time to finish off the Ironscale by taking some Blood Angels Red. I'm going to apply this over top of all the gems. So got a couple on the staff here. Like that. Got one on the chest. We've got the hearts here as well. There's a teeny tiny little one up there, like that. And then we also need to apply this over the shoulder. Like that. So with that done, our Ironscale is now finished, as are our Witch Elves, as are our Bloodstalkers, and our Doomfire Warlocks as well. So we've painted the entire set, so now we need to base it. However, we did manage to get the Ironscale finished in a sub 2 hours, so we're doing really well here. So for the basing, what we're going to do is we're going to keep things pretty simple here. We're going to take some Skeleton Horde, and we're going to apply this over the top of any of the stones and bones and ground. So we're going for a desert theme. And with that then done, we're going to take some Armageddon Dust, and we're going to apply this over top of all of the negative space around all of the bases. And then we're going to leave it to dry overnight. After a good night's sleep, all of our bases are now dry. So what we're going to do is we're going to take some Agrax Earthshade. I'm going to use this over the top of all of the desert, the Armageddon dunes, or dust. It's dust. And with that Agrax Earthshade fully dry, we're then going to dry brush the bases using Tyrant Skull. Had to be in there. Just like this. And actually, this brings us to the done moment, because there's only two things left to do, which is the rims and to add some tufts, and we generally don't film those bits around here, so call it finished. Our spearhead is done. And we've done it very, very quickly. It's something, I mean, I'll add up all of the times very soon, after we've finished this particular bit of filming. But I think we're like sub 16 hours, maybe 17 hours, something like that. So realistically, with a night's sleep to finish off the bases, we're not including that in the hours total. Maybe we should. But realistically, it is more than possible to do this, and I've really enjoyed putting this one together. It's been nice to kind of do something a little bit lighter, with the express purpose of, you know, a goal of not necessarily doing the best paint jobs that we can do, but more the kind of required paint job for the task at hand, if you see what I mean. So getting ready for, let's say, a Spearhead game later today, that we painted this over the last day to be ready for. It's kind of what we, kind of the purpose of the video. We would be ready now. We're just getting the bases done, waiting for our friend to come over to play and maybe talk a little bit whilst I get the rims done. But otherwise, as a project, it's just been really fun and just nice, I guess. Seems a slightly kind of mild thing to say, but ultimately, like, sometimes it's not about producing the best looking miniatures that you can possibly do at any one time. It's about the game. And whereas we generally around here try to paint the best looking miniatures that we possibly can, this is more of a function on trying to play the best game that we possibly can in some ways, and doing the effort that we need to do before we get there. So I've really enjoyed it. It's taken very little time, and I think it looks great. I honestly, like, we've done a few Daughters of Khaine models on the channel before. We've done Morathi, for example, and we've done the High Gladiatrix. We've done Crethusa, the Crone Seer. So, you know, we've got 3 different ones where there's kind of all the extra highlights, like skin highlights and highlighting metallics and cloth and things like that. But I mean, you could use those videos as well to take these to the next level if you wanted to. But I'm just really happy, and I think they slot really well alongside the rest of the army. I mean, those things are the kind of centerpiece models, as it were. Probably, obviously, Morathi is the centerpiece of the Daughters of Khaine. It's a beautiful model. So to be able to now field some extra Daughters of Khaine alongside her, and even though we've gone for a Spearhead, War Hipster Spearhead ready type thing, I think they really fit. Kind of like the more realistic version of army painting, as it were. Because if I needed to get 2,000 points of Daughters of Khaine done, I now know that I could. And I could do it in a week. Based on just how well this has gone. And kind of the real time sink here was getting, like, you know, just kind of thinking through the recipes as we went. So now I would be well equipped to do a bunch of Bloodstalkers, a bunch of Witch Elves, a bunch of Doomfire Warlocks. The only thing we haven't really covered in this would be the Kinnerai, the flying ones. But we would just kind of replicate areas of Morathi, which is what we did for this one, just tweaking it slightly. So in the Morathi one we used some thinned down Guilliman flesh, I believe, for the snake belly, and then layered the Magos Purple over the top of that. But now we have the reformulated Reikland Fleshshade for that, so we don't need to do the thinned down version. So yeah, I've really enjoyed this one. I hope you've enjoyed this one and found it useful if you're indeed going to think about painting up a Daughters of Khaine Spearhead for your games of Spearhead. And I hope kind of some of the choices that I've made in this video will help you, well, inform you on your decisions should you wish to paint up a spearhead for your games really quickly. You know, keeping highlights to a minimal, picking the most important areas. So for example on these it's the hair, that's probably the real centerpiece on like the witch elves. And then, to be fair on all of them, I mean, like with the Doomfires, yes, you have the horses. They're very simple. They're just Black Legion with a dry brush of blue horror. But really, again, it's the hair as well. It's the thing you see from the top down. It's the bit that, from 3 foot fabulous, as it were. I think people see that away. So being able to pick out some of those details and focus on those, whereas spending less time on the others, that's the bit that really works for it. So yeah, anyway, I'm going to keep dry brushing all of these. In fact, we're nearly done. No, we're not. Still got 6 more witch elves. I'll just dry brush all of them on camera. We'll keep talking. So yeah, it's good fun. It's good clean fun. It's good hobby fun as well. Like I said, it's like getting back to the mechanics of why we sometimes do this. And I used to do a lot more. That's way too much Tyrant Skull. I used to do a lot more kind of painting for tournaments or events and things, but I don't play the game as much as I would like to these days. So to kind of have this as a kind of motivator for the video. Thank you, Games Workshop, for the idea. It's been great, and I do feel really energized to play Spearhead now. Especially with these gals, because I think it'll be a lot of fun, and you know they look quite good in terms of the rules. I think they look spectacular on the table. I honestly do. I'm really pleased with how they've come out, and they're a complicated army. I think they can initially give you that wow factor of how on earth would I do that, but what I've learned, obviously, as we've gone through the process of this video, is actually, no matter how complicated a model can look, sometimes if you just break it down, it's actually not so bad. Especially when it comes to a range of miniatures like these. And obviously we've talked about the Kinnerai, we haven't touched on them, but I feel very confident. I feel very confident painting Daughters of Khaine. And I know what I would do to take these to the next level. Like we'd do a lot of kind of skin highlights, and we'd highlight all of the black, and we'd highlight all of the red. And, you know, all of that good stuff. We'd probably put spot highlights of white in all the hair just to take it that little bit further as well. But honestly, it doesn't need it. And I'm very pleased about that. So there we go. And that is the last model dry brushed. And that is the Spearhead fully painted. So there we have it, the Daughters of Khaine Spearhead, all battle ready in 15 hours, 6 minutes and 7 seconds. Really like this. I really enjoyed this as well, and it was a good day. I don't want to do too many days like this, but 24-hour challenges are always fun, and well, I'm ready now for games of Spearhead with the Daughters of Khaine, so everyone's a winner in my book. If you enjoyed this video, you love the channel, and you'd like to support me further, you absolutely can do so by heading to patreon.com/warhipster, just like all of these wonderful, amazing people have done. And alternatively, you could become a YouTube channel member by clicking on the join button below, exactly like these fabulous folks have done, scrolling up on the screen before you. There are so many of you out there that it really takes my breath away, and I cannot thank you enough for everything you do, as without you I wouldn't be able to keep making these Contrast Plus videos. And if you really like this video and you want to send me a little thanks, just click on the thanks button just below this video. Don't forget to share it, like it, comment on it, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel, and to make sure you stay up to date, don't forget to click the bell icon. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you all very soon in the next one. Happy wargaming.